One of them is the outdoor teaching boot camp, which is I get a lot of questions like, well, where do I start? And so the boot camp showcases the 5 phases of teaching outdoors. So
Mm.
this came about during COVID when I was working with a lot of schools and realized, oh my God, like teachers are they're coming from all different backgrounds and not all of them want to go teach outdoors. So just talking about the 5 phases of teaching outdoors and that, and then then again, like the 4 types of teaching gardens during the 4 seasons, and then kind of a follow up, which is our teaching beyond walls, which is really when they can dig in and become leaders and mentors and advocates.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I'm talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope you are too.
Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan, and my guest today is Victoria Hackett. Victoria has her own podcast called Outdoor Classrooms, and she has an outdoor project called Outdoor Classrooms. And she is here to talk to us about outdoor classrooms. Victoria, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to hear your message.
Oh, thank you, Amy. It's been an honor to be invited. Thanks so much.
Oh gosh. So I in preparation, I had just written down like from your guest form a couple of things that just touched me. And I'm gonna read one of them just to get started. So one of them you said it is vital for our mental health and the future of our planet to raise our children outdoors while also creating communities that understand the value of nature. And that was just like, yes, amen, right? So I just think I love the idea of outdoor classrooms, and I want to learn all about what you're doing because you've been podcasting for over a year, you said. And how long have you been doing the outdoor classroom thing?
Well, it all started I'm when my kids were in preschool and kindergarten. So, and they are now 20 and 21.
A
So,
little bit.
a little bit. So it's been a little while. I've always been an educator, but I got into the outdoor classrooms through my parent hat on, and that's when we would be dropping off and picking up my children from school. They're local, our sort of signature courses, and one of them is the outdoor teaching boot camp, which is I get a lot of questions like, well, where do I start? And so the boot camp showcases the 5 phases of teaching outdoors. So
Mm.
this came about during COVID when I was working with a lot of schools and realized, oh my God, like teachers they're coming from all different backgrounds and not all of them want to go teach outdoors. So just talking about the 5 phases of teaching outdoors and that, and then then again, like the 4 types of teaching gardens during the 4 seasons, and then kind of a follow up, which is our teaching beyond walls, which is really when they can dig in and become leaders and mentors and advocates. And there were sort of 4 different types of camps of people. There were folks that loved wildlife. There were folks that loved planting food. There were
Mhm.
folks that loved just planting gardens for art and beauty. And then there were like, I kept seeing these mud kitchens and water walls. So I came up with the 4 types of teaching gardens. And then my kids grew and graduated, and I was transformed as an educator and a parent and couldn't go back. And so I was like, not necessarily ready to go create outdoor classrooms in all the schools, even though that's what I wanted. So what I did was you know what, I could reach more people if I created some online courses or workshops or whatnot. And that's where outdoor classrooms, that's pretty much when it was born.
That's awesome.
And I've been doing it ever since. So, and again, the message being that we really have to uh, bring our children and our educators outside so children can have that relationship with nature.
Right. So I have a question about that. Is this the outdoor classroom? Is that like a during school hours or is this outside of school hours? Because is that something that the teachers are like totally cool with?
It's tricky. So ideally, the vision is to create an outdoor classroom that is fluid between the indoor classroom and the outdoor classroom, and it's fluid with the curriculum, it's fluid, and the teachers are trained and they embrace it, but there's a lot of pushback. There's a
Yeah.
lot of teachers that are afraid of taking their kids outside for fear that kids will run off or that
They'll just be distracted by nature. Oh my
distracted by
goodness.
nature. But
Yeah, I was thinking that.
all the research says that it's just the opposite. All
Yeah.
the children that have maybe attention deficit disorder or that are climbing the walls indoors, when you take them outside, they're actually the leaders. They're the leaders of the classroom. And it's research after research after research after it's showcasing this. And that's really keeps the fire burning, and me doing this work is that it is backed by research. And then when you actually can witness it and see the kids transformed in these outdoor spaces going, ah, it's exactly what I needed, then it's like that even charges you up even more because it is the answer. I do think
Right.
with all this behavior management and all this mental illness and all this stuff that's going on with our kids, my mantra is just open the door. Just
Yeah.
open the door and take
I
them
mean,
outside.
fresh air, what a concept.
Yeah.
And flowers and trees and dirt. And I mean, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about I mean, I guess the reason that I asked if it was during school hours or outside of school hours, um, I I feel like I remember when I was in school a little bit ago, uh, that on really nice weather days, there were some teachers that would be like, let's do this outside. But then I think that there were others that were probably like, then I have to chase kids around, like they're gonna that whole like distracted by nature thing. And so then no one can hear you if you're trying to teach something and there's, birds singing or whatever. Um, but I love that there are so many studies to back that up. And do you work with like homeschoolers?
Yeah, I also run a nature-based program called the Secret Gardens Outdoor Classroom. So I'm actually working with children and families, and some of them are homeschoolers, some of them are some of the children are in preschool and they come on their off day. So
Hmm.
yeah, I work with a lot of folks locally. I also work with a lot of folks all over the country online. And the message is clear, just constantly like this is working. And I think in terms of speaking to the fear, if it's like a muscle, it's once that muscle is used and
Mhm.
kids are used to going outside, not just for recess, but they're going out to actually go for a learning lesson, then they become accustomed to it. They know the drill, they know what to do, and then they end up the they feel better because that it just, you physically feel better when you're outside.
Oh, absolutely.
And to think about it through the seasons. Like people, you just said like, oh, well, yeah, they only go out when the sun is shining. And I'm like, well, there's programs that actually go straight through the winter. And
Mm,
then and then that's what we talk a lot about. How do we get teachers to teach through the winter and take their kids outside? And there's so many interesting things that happen during the winter. There's the ice, there's the snow, there's the cold, and
right.
all of that can be incorporated into their curriculum. And that's the other big piece is making those links.
Awesome. And so what specifically are you teaching? Are you teaching about gardening? Are you teaching about, you said that you have the 4 different types of gardens. Is that like what that's what you're teaching about?
Yeah, so I have 3 different, I have a basically a certification program that we're starting up, and within that certification program we've got three of our sort of signature courses, and one of them is the outdoor teaching boot camp, which is it's I get a lot of questions like, well, where do I start? And so the boot camp showcases the 5 phases of teaching outdoors. So
Mm,
this came about during COVID when I was working with a lot of schools and realized, oh my God, like teachers are they're coming from all different backgrounds and not all of them want to go teach outdoors. So just talking about the 5 phases of teaching outdoors and that, and then then again, like the 4 types of teaching gardens during the 4 seasons, and then kind of the follow up, which is our teaching beyond walls, which is really when they can dig in and become leaders and mentors and advocates. And so
mm.
we take them through a whole sequence.
Okay. So I love the idea of the boot camp to teach the teachers, to
Yes.
get them acclimated to being outside.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how to, how to manage that, because it's got to be a different, it's different than being in this sterile room that
Yeah.
every
And
sound
that
bounces
would be,
off the walls and stuff.
and we were saying early, wouldn't it be fantastic to actually to vote on having an outdoor classroom in every single school that
Mm.
kids can access? And I even take it a step further, like, wouldn't it be fantastic to have every single educator to be trained in how to take their kids outdoors? And I don't think there's this mindset like, oh, I have to be this naturalist. I have to know all the names of all the birds, and I have to know the soil, and I don't have to know how to plant seeds and grow plants. So it's what I love about our program is that it's a potpourri. You can pick and choose which type of teaching garden you want to incorporate into your outdoor space.
Yeah,
And the boot camp talks about, which phase you're in and how to get yourself to the next phase. So really looking at the infrastructure of your outdoor classroom, looking at the just how do you get the kids outdoors, and
right.
then talking about the teaching and learning, what happens if it rains, so that we've got a weather stage. And then the last one is sustainability. So, and the sustainability piece has 2 veins to it. It's teaching sustainability. So adding that sustainability practices within your outdoor classroom, but then also how do you sustain this outdoor classroom that you've created?
Absolutely.
That we get a lot of, oh, we get that one person that starts the outdoor classroom and then they
And then
leave.
yeah.
You're back to the desolate outdoor classroom. So talking about sustainability, which is your mantra, is so important to talk about that in those 2 veins.
Yeah. Um, that's really cool. And I think that I I mean, I guess the teacher's job is to teach, but I would think that in like an outdoor classroom, they don't necessarily have to know everything. I mean, for one, that's why we have apps now, like the plant apps and the bird apps and stuff like that. So you can all learn together, which would be quite a fun adventure, I would think. But also, you don't have to know everything. And maybe one of the kids knows more than you. And what a fun experience that would be to have a kid teach everyone else and teach the
Yeah.
teacher. But just to be not necessarily a teacher, but a guide. And, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
they're often the facilitator. So but it's also, I love what you say in terms of learning alongside of the children. And also that even in my eyes, the educator's the expert in their grade. Like I don't teach second grade. They
Right.
teach second grade. So they're the expert in their grade level and what those kids need to learn. And facilitating, okay, how can we create the year to maybe coincide with the seasons?
Mhm.
So that's what outdoor classrooms does, is that we can give the educator who's the expert the resources to sort of rethink and sort of have a kaleidoscope, so to speak, to look at their teaching style or the teaching practice a little bit differently.
Wow.
And my hope is that they can all open the door and embrace what's outside, because the kids desperately, desperately need it. Our communities desperately need it. We all need it. I mean, it's not
Right.
just the kids. I think it's truly all of us.
Yeah. I had a podcast guest, Adam, who he's a gardener, and so he was teaching in Dallas, like physics. But
Mm,
he would always, no matter what he was teaching, he would incorporate some sort of gardening. So like when he was doing teaching physics, they were creating this like hydroponic garden, and the kids were not into it at first, but then when things started to grow from this garden, they were like, hey, now this is really cool. And then they were totally into it. But I just think it's their, everyone's not going to love every stage, and there are some things that people might not like, but it's still the fact that they're being outside, and some kids might really grasp onto certain aspects and some might not, but then they would grab onto something else. And it's just,
right.
just like
That's
just
the
like
nature. We're all different
exactly.
and we
Yeah.
all learn differently.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And some people have, are like plumbers or electricians, and some people are office people. And, it takes all kinds, but to be outside, like you're saying, it just opens up a whole new world.
kids can be
And
kids. Kids can be kids. You can get messy. You can there's just the sensorial experience of what the kids are experiencing, the songbirds, the mud, the
yeah,
all of that. And then the thrill is to sort of like, oh, how can we connect this to what they're already learning? And then to make it come alive for them. And that's the memory. And if something does happen, like, but outdoors, that it maybe is unexpected, the learning, and this is also more of the research. They're going to say the kids are going to remember it more because of the interaction that might have happened. Like, oh, the squirrel maybe walked across the paper or something, like something.
right.
But that memory bank is going to remember that, as opposed to drawing something on a piece of paper at a desk
Hmm.
indoors.
Yeah. And like we were saying, like it might not work for everybody, but it's good for everyone to have that opportunity because,
Yeah.
when you're in school, you're learning all kinds of different subjects. Why not learn about the actual place where we're living,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
it's
And
exciting. It's exciting. So yeah, yeah, my hope is that we can make those connections, that we can get more teachers teaching outdoors, we can, more communities, even more backyards. I work with families to really create or recreate their outdoor spaces just even in their backyard, so they can
wow.
rethink it as an outdoor classroom, and using those teaching gardens. So whether it be planting, it could be planting and growing food, which I think is so important for kids to experience,
Mhm.
to um, to planting native plants and attracting butterflies, which is again so important to,
Right.
I mean, it's all so important to our environment. It's important that we are educating kids about the
Right.
names of the plants, and that carrots do grow underground and they don't come from the grocery store.
They
So
don't, yeah, they're not born in a bag.
yeah. So all of that is, but it doesn't, in an outdoor classroom doesn't have to be at a school. It can be in someone's backyard. It can be, if you're home, more and more families are homeschooling their kids. So rethinking how your outdoor space can be applied to be a learning environment where
Mm,
kids really get jazzed about wonder and inquiry, and just, wake up the next day like, yeah, and they put their iPads down or their electronics, and we do go back to those times where we were all outdoors playing,
Right.
losing track of time.
Right. Yeah, like a generation or two back.
Yeah.
But I think that I before we started talking, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's good for them to get to know the outside, but then like as we were talking, I'm like, yeah, like they're learning about social studies and history and English and writing and stuff like that. But why not learn about the outside? And how crucial is that as we're aging and the situation is getting more and more intense.
Mhm.
We need all hands on deck, really. And these kids are going to be the next people that are in charge of everything. So
Yeah.
if we're raising them inside and then they're like released into the world and they're like, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
What a mess. And how are we supposed to do anything? Like we just need to get them started early and, just to appreciate, to be out there, to know what's out there and just to be more aware of it.
Yeah, Richard Love did lots and lots of research and has interviewed people across the country. And in his book, I think it's Nature Deficit Disorder, but talks about um, he talks about the lack of young people that are going into environmental education. And I think it ties into that lack of relationship that
Yes.
children have with nature, that screens have become such a huge uh,
Yeah.
part of children's lives at such a young age that they're losing out. And to actually have the term nature deficit disorder now is just such a crime. And I think if we're going to do one thing in the world, I think this is the most important thing to get to, because we only get one Earth, and I think it's like if we can find ways to get our kids outside to have that relationship and connect it with and bring alive what they're already learning. But I don't think we have to get our teachers excited. We have to get our leaders excited. We have to get our city planners excited. There's just so many layers of this onion that we need to unfold.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I think that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, was to create this dialogue. So we're not all working in these separate silos, that we're all kind of talking together and getting excited and like, yeah. And hopefully that will create this beautiful ripple effect
Mm.
that will just create a healthier society.
Right? Oh my gosh. I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking about when you were saying that less and less people are getting into the environmental em employment. I was thinking of the bumper sticker that says no farms, no food,
Yeah.
then no farms, no food.
Yeah. No, it's scary.
KNOW.
You think about it, isn't it sort of
And
scary?
yeah, like if nobody is working in the gardens, there's not going to be food. And we all need food,
Yeah,
what do you know, because it's not grown at the grocery store,
that's right.
born on those
And so
shelves.
and part of our four types of teaching gardens is gardens that feed.
Yeah.
So we've got gardens that attract wildlife. We've got the gardens for art and beauty, and gardens as outdoor learning stations. And that big component is to teach teachers how to teach kids how to
Mhm.
grow food. And it can be as simple as planting a seed in the ground and watching it grow, and it can get a little more complicated. So depending on where we can meet teachers and educators and parents and homeschoolers, and
Right.
uh, it's just a matter of a mindset, and let's do this.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, talking about just in the last couple of years, like since I started this podcast, I'm talking to more and more people and just my mind is being blown pretty regularly. But like when you were talking about the pollinator gardens, it's not just like because butterflies are pretty. Butterflies are a pollinator and we require that for our food. And hummingbirds the same, like and the bees, like we need to attract them and, so that they can help us to eat.
Yes.
It all comes back to us.
It does. I mean, it's kind of amazing. You think, oh, well, this is crazy person that wants us to teach outdoors. I'm like, no, it's deeper than that. It's
Yeah.
all of these threads that, again, it's this ripple. So if we can simply open our door and figure out, okay, what's the mindset that I need to take my classroom outdoors and to actually walk through those steps
Hmm.
to how can I get outdoors? And it might be that there might be bureaucracy that's happening in your school or whatever it might be, but to get to that stage of teaching outdoors. But it all boils down to all of these deeper messages that we need to send the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I've also in the last year or so, just I have this brand new appreciation and like need for flowers. Flowers
Mm,
for mental health. They're just like a required part of my life now. And just like I have so much appreciation for the flower gardeners and just the amazing work that they do.
is
Um,
it's mind-boggling.
yeah.
But it is Gardens for Art and Beauty. And then that brings it's sort of a generosity grove or a kindness project but just, and they say flowers have an impact on, if I don't know if you've
Not
heard
just
of,
for Valentine's Day,
not
guys.
just for
Not for Mother's
Valentine's Day,
Day.
but they even say, in hospitals, the beds that are closest to the window that have a view of a garden, those patients are healthier than the ones that do not have the window.
That makes so much sense.
Doesn't that make sense?
Oh my
So
gosh.
again, you think about just cutting flowers, the process of cutting flowers, making a bouquet. It's all that self-care and self-love and all, and that even like for ourselves as educators and then teaching children like what does it feel like to give the gift of a bouquet to someone else? And again, that this is one of our teaching gardens.
Mhm.
So what can you do and what can we teach in the Gardens for Art and Beauty? And there's so many books and nature-based books that we connect with gardens and flowers and Miss Rumpius. And I mean, there's just, it goes on and on and on. I just get so excited about it. So, but
I love
flowers,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Self-care, love, it's,
yeah. Well, and like you were saying, when someone gives someone a bouquet of flowers, like what are you feeling? Because it's so gratifying to see the smile on their face. So it's
yeah,
really a twofer,
yeah, it is.
no?
It's a, and what that does physically to your body in terms of wellness is just,
Yeah.
even if you're giving a flower bouquet to yourself, it's that is an act of self-love. And that just, again, changes the physicality of your body.
Mm.
Um, and again, more research is backing that as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is an action point, a action call that we can make for, how can we be a part of this and offer support? Like, how do you talk to people? What can we do? What can we do to make this more of a thing? My words are really great right now. Um,
Absolutely. I think the first thing you do is you open your door and you go outside, whether you go yourself first, if you're an educator or a parent or anybody, just open the door, find a favorite spot outdoors and just spend 10 minutes a day there. Or if you don't even have 10 minutes, spend 5 minutes a day and just get used to being outdoors, spending time outdoors, observing what's around you. If you are working with children, if you have children, start bringing the children with you. Read a book outdoors, do an activity outdoors, keep it really simple. If you are an educator that has a class and you want more support, contact us at Outdoor Classrooms. We would be happy to share with you all of the free resources and not free, if you want to dig a little bit deeper, depending on where you're at. But the first step is to truly just open your door and have that mindset of, and just experience essence of being outdoors in nature and what that does to you. And if you go outside, say for a week or 2 weeks, and you just do this every single day, maybe around the same time every day, you will start to see a physical shift in both your mindset and your physical body. I promise you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And
Or
so,
take a walk. I mean,
yes.
I'm a big walker. So
Yep.
go and take a walk and just make a mindset shift that, I'm going to spend more time in nature, and
Okay. So
we're
start
just
with ourselves.
start with yourself. And again, if you have children in your world, bring them along. And and walking is a wonderful thing as well, because then you get to see so much. And then again, we are here to support and elevate and um, whatever resource you need to connect it with
Oh my
curriculum.
gosh. I love that so much. And I love that you said just start with yourself. You open your door, go outside. And
Yeah.
on that note, I want to quickly give a shout out to Amy Bouchatz, who was, I don't remember what number her podcast episode was, but in the last maybe almost 2 years ago, her podcast was called Humans Outside. She would say 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Start wherever you can, but maybe work yourself up to 20 minutes, and at least 20 minutes a day. It will change your life. Um,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, if in case she's listening, Amy, I didn't forget.
I just got goosebumps. If we could all do that, wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah. And even in Alaska where she is, with the negative temperatures, they've got snowstorms already. But
Uh,
But so, Victoria, this is incredible. I mean, I told you I love this and I was so excited about it, and I'm so glad that this finally worked out. But so okay, so we need to open our doors and go outside. When I say the word sustainability to you, what does that mean for you?
for me, I think of the final phase of the 5 phases of teaching outdoors. I think of, because I'm working so much with outdoor classrooms, I think it's the the sustainability of creating these beautiful outdoor classroom spaces. I also think it's thinking of sustainability practices that children desperately need to learn, whether we're sustaining and saving water, whether we're really learning how to grow our own food and being able to be our own, creating our own sustainability practices.
Mm,
So yeah, I think it goes across the board in terms of creating sustainability practices that we can live in, but also creating sustainability practices that we can keep so simple that we can give to our next generation. It's really, those teachings need to be handed down to the next generation. And if they're not, it worries me. And I think if you think hundreds and hundreds of years ago, that's what they did. Families just, they would have a craft and they'd hand it down, and for generations to generations to generations. And I feel like we've lost that art. And if we were teaching or learning sustainability practices, I don't know if we're handing it down as artfully as it's been
mm.
in the past. So I think about it that way. I think about, again, I always have that idea of the outdoor classroom and how can we sustain it so they carry on through the years. But I also think of the handing down of these beautiful practices from generation to generation.
Yeah, well, they totally go hand in hand. I
Mhm.
mean, and it just like clicked with me when you were saying, the sustainability of these gardens, but like it's not what I was thinking was, it's not it's nice for the kids to get outside, it's healthy for the kids to get outside, but it's also like required for them to learn how to take care of what we're leaving them.
Yeah. I mean, you
Um,
think of victory gardens too, when
yes.
the victory gardens all came to be uh, during the wars and all of that. So it's really I think we are in a time of crisis, and I do think this is a real time that we need to really rethink
Mm.
our educational system. I have to really rethink how we're teaching children. I think it's like this, it's really a movement that needs to um, start picking up its pace. I
Yeah.
think we're running out of time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm so glad that it worked out that we were doing this, because I think that I am in a better place to hear it. But I think it's also just, it's so, every day it's more crucial that we get this started. So Victoria, I'm so in awe of what you're doing. I can't believe you've been doing this for so long. I mean, not 20 years, but like, 15, 16,
Yeah,
17 years,
yeah,
something like that. You've been working on this for so long, and we really need to just like pick up that baton and like take it from you, and, and spread it out. Like
yeah.
this needs to spread, because I'm in Virginia now. I can work on that here.
Yes.
But I think that, you've done a really good job starting it, and you're so inspiring. And with your podcast, like, it's so easy to get this information. Um, so I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this time with you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
How,
This has been an absolute pleasure.
how can people find you to learn more?
They can find me, they can email me directly at victoria@outdoor-classrooms.com. They can go to my website, which is again outdoor-classrooms.com. And we've got all sorts of things to check out, great things that are coming in 2025. I cannot wait. I just feel like I'm getting
Ooh,
started. I feel like I've been doing this for so long,
I'm
but
so curious now.
oh,
2025 is next
lots of
month
good. I
almost.
know it's
This
very
is good.
exciting. So
And the
yeah.
podcast, Outdoor Classrooms.
Outdoor Classrooms is the podcast on any platform that you love listening podcasts on. Yeah, there's lots of goodness out there.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is
Oh, thank you for
amazing.
having
I'm
me.
thrilled. I'm thrilled to make this connection and to share this message.
Great. Thank you so much.
I just want to take a second to thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I love having these conversations with folks. I also want to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her music genius, for Becca Coffron and her award-winning artwork. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that so much. Please check out the show notes for any links and extra information. And if you would like to follow my guest and find out more about them, I'm sure they would love the follow. And if you don't mind leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening, and just help to get this podcast in front of new eyes, that would be amazing. I would really love that. And feel free to reach out to me on the socials and let me know what you're thinking. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know that. I would love to have a conversation with you about sustainability. All right. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here now I'm so far down, and mercy's bound, yeah, to find me. When that state of grace has finally found me, will there be music, ooh, and good friends around me? Yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder